Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. My name is Chris Salem, your host. Welcome to the TALRadio platform. Again, hope that you're enjoying all the different hosts and episodes here, covering a wide array of different content here on the TouchALife Foundation's radio platform. Yes, we've been here now over 3.5 years. It's hard to believe the show is almost 4 years old. We've been here since the start of TALRadio. And again, we are committed each and every week in delivering content from subject matter experts to help elevate your level of influence to the next level. And if there's any content you'd like to see on a certain show, feel free to reach out to us here at Business Influencers at Chris@ChristopherSalem.com. We'd be more than happy to take your information to see about covering that content that you're seeking on a future show. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. It is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a special show for you today. I am looking forward. I've got to meet this gentleman many times at an event that we speak at in Albany, New York, each year around the March timeframe, called Leadership Summit America. And we're going to be here with William Rivas. And before we bring William on, I want to give you a little background. We're going to be talking about common unity, leading with love. And I can tell you he is a prime example of everything that he is going to share. And he will give you even his backstory that led up to that as well. William is a devoted husband to Shwanta, father to Chelona. William is a native of Schenectady, New York. He has 10 plus years of nonprofit executive experience. As a reflection of his commitment to the community, William has been rewarded over 30 awards that are over 30 articles and interviews documenting his work. William currently serves as the executive director for C.O.C.O.A, that's an acronym, C.O.C.O.A, House, after school mentorship program for youth, the Bridges of Greater New York, Schenectady GBRP, Shelter Rehabilitation and Stabilization Program for Men and Women. And he was interviewed by Soledad O'Brien, where he was credited with the idea and implementation of the nation's first community-operated police new hire panel. In 2024, William completed his legacy project in rehabilitating his childhood home. You're going to hear about that, and turning into a teen empowerment center. God, what a way to give back to the community. And embracing the power of transformative change in leadership, William created the 518 Common Unity Cup, which represents 5 sports and locations, 1 cause community engagement, and 8th month of the year. William is incredibly skilled at resource navigation, community engagement, program building, identifying stakeholders, collaborative building, and strategic implementation. And without further ado, we welcome William Rivas to the show. William, how you doing today?
I feel good. Whenever somebody's like talking about me or my bio, I'm always like, who is that?
Well, it's you, my friend. It is you. And we are so happy to have you here. You know, I've heard your story a few times, and I can tell you it is a story of resilience, a story of transformation, and you've inspired so many people, not only in the greater Schenectady, Albany area, but, you know, all around the world in what you do and how you've committed your life, not only to yourself and your family, but to the community and helping people at a disadvantage to get back on their feet and turn their lives around. So if you could start, William, with this topic, common unity, leading with love. We always like to start with the backstory, maybe a little bit about, you know, where you were, what led you up to this point, where you are, and how you're changing lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been blessed to work in the community for the last 15 years. And throughout that journey, I always found this term community everywhere I went. Community leadership, community projects, community stakeholders. And I'm a person who's very adept at language, right? So when I start to hear something, I want to know the why. You know, why is this community? Why am I community this? And so I really started to look into that. And what I found was a lot of the time when people are speaking in terms of community, it's almost divisive, right? Because they're looking at the community as being over here. If you're a community leader, they identify you as this, your community aspects. This is your leadership capacity. If you're working on a community project, they identify that you're working on this project over here. And what I found is, I have kids who come from my neighborhood. I have kids who look like me. I have youth who don't. I have families who look like me. I have families who don't. And so what I started to really identify is that a lot of times language can keep us separate and not allow us to collaborate the way we truly want to. So I started to really play around with this term and broke community down to its root word, which is common unity, right?
Yes,
so when
absolutely.
I take in consideration, so I was very thoughtful in that because, I have this premise that I live by with my kids. I can drop my kids off on the moon. They're going to find a friend, a snack, and a game because our youth don't have bias. They don't understand bias. It hasn't been formed in them. They don't understand the concept of difference. Our youth are our purest form of change. And what happens is, as they start to grow as adults, we start to put our boundaries, our beliefs on our youth. So I wanted to create something called common unity that would bring people together and not separate people. And so my consulting business is called Common Unity. A lot of the projects that I've worked on over the last years are named intentionally and strategically under Common Unity because my goal is not to separate, it's to collaborate and bring people together.
Wow, powerful. And that is a great name, and trademark that for sure because you own it, and I can see it when I'm always with you that you are an example of that as a leader, not only in the words you say, but your behavior, your attitude, your emotions, and of course your actions, all in congruence working together. No, I love that. And so when we talk about this common unity, again, we got to lead with love. And where does that love start, William? Does that start with you, like ourselves? Because we can't give what we don't have, right? So again, we can't give from an empty cup. But if we fill our cup, then we got something to give and help others.
Yeah, absolutely. That was what I found had to be the beginning of a lot of this change for me. Because a lot of the time when we're working in the field, we're always looking at changing that over there. We want to change them over here. We want to be respected this way. We want to teach this. But again, it starts with us. So if we want to be treated with respect, if we have to love ourselves, we have to accept where we've come from. We have to do the internal work on a regular basis to identify our own implicit biases and experiences and be mindful not to take those out or utilize them or weaponize them against others. If I want to bring people together, I have to do the internal work every day to be mindful because I want to be impactful in the lives of others. I want to learn. I want to help. I want to grow. I want people to feel like they can grow with me. So I am constantly a work in progress, and I challenge those around me to do the same.
Wow. Love it. Love doing that. And, when it comes to common unity, we have to lead by example, which you evidently do each and every day. And by doing that, you demonstrate that consistently. How important is that consistency with, again, that everything that you're doing is in congruence with one another? It's not contradicting. It's not like you say something and then your behavior contradicts it, or you say something and then your actions contradict it. How important is that consistency?
It's incredibly important, which is why, when I'm always talking about my story, I always find it interesting when people are speaking, they're talking about the highlight reel, right? So the thing with this social media world now is when you're looking at something and you're hearing people speak, they're always speaking about the highlight reel, all the great things that have happened. They're not talking about none of their flaws. They're not talking about. And what I love, and I learned this from you and from Dave and everybody at Leadership Summit America, embrace the flaws, embrace all the things, the mistakes, the bad things, because the reality is there's more people who have made the mistakes than people who are perfect. I don't know anybody who's perfect. So I've learned to embrace and lead by the example by always expressing my flaws in the space, because what I want people to be comfortable with is I'm not standing up on this stage because I'm any better than you. I'm standing up on this stage because I've made the same exact mistakes as you, and I know what it feels like to be on the other side. Allow me to help you. So it's been interesting to see and implement in real time. And that's why I always love learning and listening to you guys, because it's something you all do, but it's not something I see a lot of people do.
Yeah.
We always hit the highlight reel. A lot of the other stuff doesn't.
We see the mask, right? We see what's working, but we didn't see what wasn't working, right? And it's that transparency is not there. And I guess when you talk about community in this case, transparency is important. It's to say that, hey, I know the people that I'm leading by example and being resourceful for. I've been in their shoes. I can understand the difficulties, the setbacks, the challenges that they have because I lived it. It's not like, hey, I can understand, but you know what? I never lived it, but I guess I could try to understand. No, you've been there. And you when you come across the people, it's not like, oh my God, William is Superman. No, you're just like them, except you have just learned to evolve from those challenges, mistakes, and the trials and tribulation that life gave you, and now you can help them to help themselves. Share some more insights, William, from your journey with it, because you've obviously done that with all these great things that you've done that were mentioned in your bio.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it is when you're going through trauma, right, and you are homeless or you're addicted to drugs or you're going through incarceration and reintegration, you never see the end. You're currently always living in the moment. I'm homeless, I'm this, I'm that. And those labels, those experiences, what they do is they shape how a person views themselves and their opportunity in the world. And what I found is growing up in my community, this wasn't something that was just plaguing the people that I grew up with. This is something that was plaguing people globally. Growing up in neighborhoods of poverty, this theory, we talk about this theory of lack. Only one can be successful. There's not enough money. There's not enough opportunity. There's not enough of these things. So what that does, it creates this crab in a barrel mentality where people don't think they can work together. Collaboration is a conversation piece. The action of collaboration doesn't exist because we always internally feel like, well, if I collaborate with you, you might take something from me. And so what I found for myself was all the experiences I had as a youth that were negative, my mom arresting me, being addicted to drugs, being homeless, all these things, they were all shaping my leadership style so that I could go into communities and help people like myself and show them, I've made that mistake. Here's how you make a change. I've been arrested. Here's what you can do to get a resume or to start a business. Because the belief in communities of poverty, and I don't just speak just in terms of color, but in poverty as far as lack of resources, lack of finances, and lack of education. Everybody feels the same no matter what color they look like. And so being able to go in and show people, no, I have all the same scars. I've made all the same mistakes. Here is something different you can do. And for me, I don't have to give you a referral. I can show you exactly how to use the resource because I've used it.
Yeah.
So it's not a guess. It's my life has now become the example of leadership, and my mentors have helped me lead with love and not with ego.
I love that. And again, that transparency, that honesty, that integrity, that's what people relate to. Because people, if they're going through a difficult time or if they never felt worthy, they're not going to identify with somebody they would admire in a dream life. But if they know, like, wow, look where he was. He was no different than me 15, 20 years ago. Why can't I do that? I just need a little guidance, and the great thing is that you've now not only do this for yourself to help others, but you got a lot of resources in place and all the things that you're doing to allow these resources to help a lot of people in the community believe in that and actually take action. Like, it's not handed to you. It's not done for you. You got to do it. You got to do the work. But that's what common unity is about. We all got to do our part. We all have our role and duties. Let me be the example and the resource here for you to get better. But okay, you got to do it.
Yeah, and the great part about that is in accepting that role, that means nobody else's role is a challenge for me. It makes it easier for me to collaborate because I understand my piece. So
Yes.
it's easier for me to work with others, listen to others, collaborate with others, because the conflict doesn't exist.
It's so true. Because when as you've heard me say this many times when I speak, you can only control yourself. You can't control other people. So you're not going to change somebody. You can't shake them and go, okay, turn your life around. It's got to be something they decide to do, but from what they feel, when they feel like, if I can do it because I've seen William do it, or I've seen somebody else in my community do it, and now why can't I do it? They just have to get there to make that decision and take the bull by the horns and run with it. So I love that. Anything? Please elaborate on that.
Yeah, and I think most people want the opportunity to prove their value and their worth, but because of our experiences, because of our trauma, we don't always feel we can. So a lot of the times, we want to do something different. I remember being in jail the last time 15 years ago and be like, I want to do something else and anything else but go to jail. I don't like it. I'm done. I'm over it. But I remember getting out and not knowing what to do next. Like, I want to do something different, but what do I do? Where do I go?
Yeah.
I was blessed to, rest in peace to my mentor, Walter Simpkins, who passed recently. But I found somebody in a mentor, Walter Simpkins, who brought me into this men's group. And in that, I found camaraderie. I found acceptance. I found love. And I found, responsibility, because what they taught me was responsibility to one's family, responsibility to one's community, responsibility to one's self. And when you feel like you have nothing, you're worth nothing, and somebody instills and shows you that you have access to a purpose, it changes everything.
Yeah. So true. So true. And, again, leading with love, if you could share some insights, again, we're not here to judge. We're not here to have biases, but, we're not here to enable either, right? Love is about empowering people and encouraging them. And hey, you're going to make a mistake and you might make another one, but again, did you learn? Did you grow? Can you get back, stand back up and just take that first step forward? Talk about that, with it, at an individual, it could be a family level and even a community level as well.
Yeah. These are all practices I instill in every facet of the work that I do, whether it's the homeless shelter, the parole program, whether it's working with my youth, my teens, or even with my friends or at home. The biggest thing is accountability. Accountability itself. You are responsible for your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Regardless of your trauma, we are responsible for us.
Well, you just made a great point, because let's say you had trauma as a child. Maybe you were physically, verbally, sexually, emotionally abused. Now, no child just says, "Hey, come and abuse me." But it happens, right?
Yes.
Things happen. They couldn't control. But now as an adult, they can control what they now do with it to heal.
And that's the great piece of what I teach with people now is therapy. If you've had a traumatic experience, which we all have, it is important that if you want to be impactful and you're being accountable to self, then you have to do the work to address those inner wounds. Because if we don't do the work to address those, then we take it out on our friends, we take it out on our family, we take it out in our work and the people we interact with on a regular basis. And over time, what happens is we end up with implicit biases we're not aware of. So in doing the work and going to therapy, you are able to address your wounds, your trauma, and heal in time. It's not something that just happens, but it takes some work. But I hold the people around me accountable, and I lead with that. I'm in therapy. My family's in therapy. So I promote that to the youth and to the people that I work with so they can heal from those traumas.
Wow, that's powerful. Love it. Love it. And if, what would you say, somebody listening right now, they're going through a very difficult time in their life. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be personal, health wise, relationship wise. It could be, business or any combination thereof. Share it with again, because you shared a lot of insights, but as the William that has evolved to the man he is today, what would be that advice that you would share with them to not tell them what to do, but to share that would get them on track to go through this challenge and to turn it into an opportunity?
What I started to realize was some people have it easy, and then there's some of us that we are created for a much tougher infrastructure.
Yeah.
So the great thing that I learned about this is, all the things that I went through and experienced put me into a position where I'm incredibly confident today because I know what I experienced getting here. So when I take in consideration the accumulation of the sum of my experiences have put me in a position where I feel like I can overcome anything because I already have.
Yeah.
So I look at what I'm experiencing, and I say this to anybody: what you're experiencing today does not define who you're going to be tomorrow. Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's difficult. And if you feel you're alone, reach out to a friend. And if you don't have a friend, reach out to a family member. And if you don't have that, reach out to a therapist. There are people, there are resources available to you. You're not in it alone, and you will get through this.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing that I learned, and you've heard me share this before, is that, like you said, life isn't always going to be pleasant. You're going to have trauma, you're going to have setbacks, challenges. And it's now that, like, when these things happen, I don't see it now happening to me. I know it's easy to say that, especially if somebody is going through something right now and they're like, yeah, you don't understand. I may not understand your specific thing you're going through right now, but I understand on some level because I've been through that. I see in hindsight, like, it was almost like some of the things I went through were a blessing, because I wouldn't be doing what I do today if I hadn't gone through those things during my childhood, my teen years, my early adult years. I wouldn't be able to be enjoying why and what I do without those experiences. Share from your perspective that, because I know all the things you do were all, spun in a positive way from all the negative things you experienced early in your life.
Yeah, the thing I always talk about when I get the opportunity to have these conversations is I don't blame anybody for anything that I experienced. I don't blame my mom for being a single mother. I don't blame my dad for choosing not to be in my life. I don't blame society. I made the choices I made, and I knew the difference between right and wrong. So in understanding that, I understand that everything that I experienced is exactly what was supposed to happen to make me who I am today. Yeah. And when I look back on it, I'm thankful. Yes, I was arrested and my mom had to book me. It was a horrible experience. No, I didn't change my life immediately after. I wish I could tell you I did, but I didn't. It was a horrible, traumatic experience, not just for me, but for my mother, who had spoke so highly of me in the community. And then now she has to book me because I decided I wanted to sell drugs. Being involved in gang activity, seeing people lose their lives, all these experiences, I finally had an opportunity to sit by myself and look at my life and be like, okay, I don't like where this is going, and I can see where I'm going to end up. And so before we get there, I'm willing to try anything but this, because I know if I keep doing this, I already know what's going to happen. Yeah. So let me try something else. And that's what I did.
And there you go. I'm going to try something else, and this time it's going to be something that, it's right. It's good. It's not impacting somebody negatively. And I just got to trust the process that it's going to work. And here you are today in this very moment. And look at all these great things you've done in this short period of time, where you are in your life.
It's been a blessing because, again, the thing is growing up as a kid, I never thought I was special. I wasn't tall. I didn't run fast. I had one friend playing the NBA. I was surrounded by people who walked in their purpose, and mine was never defined. Yeah. So when one of my best friends went to prison for 20 years, I was depressed because in my mind, growing up where I grew up at, that is the path. You grow up, you're in the streets, you go to prison, you come back, you repeat the cycle. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And my friend said to me, the one that was in prison for 20 years, he says, William, you're not here because this is where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be out there getting the keys together so when we come home, you can show us how to do something different. And that was the first time it was like, oh, my God, you're right. No wonder why I can't, no wonder why I'm no good at this. No wonder why this is happening. That's not my journey. That's not my path. That's not
Well,
my
there you
purpose.
are. You recognize that, hey, I'm not going to become somebody else's talent. That's not my talent. My talent is this. Wow, that's powerful. Powerful message. I hope the listeners right now really hear that. Stay in your lane. Stop trying to walk in somebody else's shoes every time. Walk in your own. Walk in your own shoes. Love it. Anything else you want to elaborate on that? Please do.
Yeah, I would say for anybody going through a difficult time, find peace in the fact that there's only one of you and there's only one set of experiences of a person that can go through this. And the only person that can turn this around is the same person that's currently experiencing this turmoil at this time. Yeah. You can absolutely turn this into something beautiful. When I look at my life, all the things that I'm doing, the work, the programs, it's all around where I grew up, the home I lived in, the streets I grew up in, and the people that I grew up with. I can't make that up. It's only happening because I'm walking in my purpose and I accepted my destiny a long time ago.
Wow. Well, William, this has been so powerful. I love everything you shared, and we definitely want to get you on another future show where we could elaborate further. We're towards the end of the show, but I wanted this time that you could share with the audience, how can they get in contact with you? What are you up to? And anything that you'd like to share or provide them.
Yeah, so we are currently on LinkedIn and Instagram, the William Rivas or C.O.C.O.A House. And yes, it is an acronym, C.O.C.O.A, Children of Our Community Open to Achievement, and a 518 Empowerment Center. We're currently opening up our programming for our teens. We're going to be launching a $100,000 summer youth employment program out of my childhood home this summer.
Wow, what a story that is. Is your old bedroom going to be your office, or is that going to be something?
It is. It actually is. And it's those things that's like, wow.
Wow. Well, we highly encourage everybody, reach out to William, connect with him on LinkedIn, connect with him through his institutions that he runs involved in. If you are ever in the Schenectady, Albany area, reach out and reach out to William. I'm sure William, if he's available, he will definitely meet you. He's that type of guy. And William, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris. I've been watching you for years, and I've been waiting for this opportunity to sit down and speak with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts like William to share their personal insights, which are most important experiences to help elevate your influence, whatever that may be, to the next level. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.